Let's do that right now. Okay. So, where was I? Let's just get back here. Who am I? I've been helping people invest in property. I started doing some arbitrage, brought some money back, and through doing that, noticed some interesting things around the cryptocurrency space. I love technology. I love learning about it. You can see I'm wearing my SpaceX shirt tonight because another Sappho is doing some amazing things in America, Elon Musk, and he launched a Tesla into space yesterday with a spaceman, and to me that was incredibly inspiring. So I'm a fanboy today, so I'm wearing my SpaceX shirt. And I think the crypto space has got an incredible ability to disrupt the world that we live in and the financial world that we live in, and I'm really excited about it. So we started researching how we could get involved, especially when I noticed the arbitrage opportunity and where the Bitcoin price was going and the pace it was going at it. So we started looking for the opportunities. I'm not an expert, not by any means. So please, guys, I'm going to make mistakes here tonight, and I look to work with the people that really know their stuff and that are experts. But I'm going to share with you what we're doing and why we're doing it. And if we're getting it wrong, who knows? The risk has certainly changed in the last 2-3 months because of the pricing. But I'm a long-term believer in the technology, and I think it's an incredible opportunity for us to do some amazing things in that space. But I just want to have the disclaimer out there that I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a financial guru. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not licensed in any investment advice, and I advise that I don't give any advice, and that's it. But I'm just going to share with you what I'm doing, and you guys can go do your own research and take responsibility for your own actions or for anything you learn here tonight. And hopefully it's fun and engaging, and I'll definitely open it up for some questions later on, and everyone can have an open discussion with each other. And I think this community, if it's got an open spirit, we can all learn from each other. So this is why I'm doing this, is so I can show you what I'm doing. And if people want to do it with me, there'll be an opportunity to do it with me later on. But it's not going to be a pitch. It's a case of if you want to do it with me, you can. If you don't want to do it with me, happy days. I shared with you what I was learning and why I was doing the things I'm doing. And if you learn something, then I'm happy. So the major problem that I had, I just want to stop share quickly, just because this chat box is right in the middle of my screen, and you guys might not be able to see it, but it's definitely bothering me. So is going from the hobby miner to the professional miner, you have to overcome some things. So first, I don't know what the level of understanding is on this webinar tonight. I'm taking the assumption that everybody knows a little bit about what crypto mining is. For those that don't, please go Google it first. I'm not going to give you a full explanation here. I pretty much think that everybody knows a little bit about what mining is. So to go from the hobby miner, the guy that's got a few mines at his office or got a few mines in his shed, like I've got at home, or got a few mines, a few GPU rigs running out of a warehouse or something like that, to go to professional industrial level where you've got a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand rigs running that can really produce some good quality income as a real business, we've got to think about it a little bit differently, because this is what a normal data center looks like, and I think it's incredibly difficult to run a data center like this for a bunch of different reasons. There's the heat. I'll go into all of those in a second, but they're expensive to build. They're difficult to maintain. There are emission in terms of staffing requirements and that type of stuff. So when we started trying to understand for our own purposes, when I wanted to go from hobby miner to a little bit more professional, trying to find the place with the right power to take 100 miners or 100 GPU rigs or whatever the case may be, it was difficult. It was certainly not easy. So when we started trying to unpack this thing, it got really, really, really difficult. And I can see where a lot of people are facing similar problems. And I thought I'd share with you my journey and how we went about trying to solve that problem. And it might not be the right solution for everyone, but it certainly was interesting for us, and interesting enough that we laid out a substantial amount of money to actually do it. from our personal account, not like investor money or anything like that. It was our own personal money in the four partners that are part of Infinity, my property business. So this is what my shed looks like. I thought I'd play this little video for you. So anyway, that's what my shed looks like. I've got 4 ant miners in that little box, and I've got that little blue pipe over there. It's connected to an air conditioner that keeps them cool, and the box can close, almost close, and they run at an operating temperature of around 75 to 80 degrees. That's the CPU temperature. The internal temperature in that little box over there is about 25 to 30 degrees, even on a really, really hot day. And it works, and it's mining away and going crazy over there. But if I switch my beautiful air fryer on the house, it trips. So it means we've got to deal with some. And I've only got 4 of them running at my house, and already I'm running into power problems over there. So we had to find a solution that would give us industrial power at the right cost, because the bottom line is the volatility in the space is really, really, really intense. We've seen what's happened to the Bitcoin price and the price of all the altcoins, all the cryptos over the last 3-4 weeks. It's been quite a rout on the pricing if you're measuring things in fiat currency. And all I'm saying is I'm seeing this and saying, well, what do I really want to accumulate? Do I want to accumulate fiat currency, or do I want to accumulate cryptocurrencies? And if cryptocurrencies are cheaper now than they were last week, then that for me is a buying opportunity, and I'm going to just keep buying. So that's just my personal opinion. Don't take it to heart. Do whatever the hell you want. A mate of mine exited his holdings yesterday morning and proceeded to watch the price run after he'd been up and then went down and then exited and then watched the price run back up from 6,000 to 8,500 today. So anyway, it's an interesting space. The fear and everything is quite intense. The emotional roller coaster ride is certainly intense, but I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not in it for the quick bucks. I want to build a sustainable solution at industrial level, and industrial power at the right cost is key. So at the moment, I'm paying around R1.25 kilowatt in Cape Town for power. So when an ant miner or a GPU rig or whatever the case may be is consuming, let's say 1,000 watts or 1,400 watts, whatever the case may be, I'm paying quite a high cost to run that machine in Cape Town. So when I start looking for an industrial level sort of facility there, then I'm looking for good quality, consistent power at a reasonable price. And when I started investigating what everyone else was doing, they were running operations in South Africa. Generally, the cheapest power we could find was around 85 to 90 cents a kilowatt. Then we started looking offshore and saying, well, what are the complexities? We already do business in America, so we've got a great network over there. So we started looking at where we could find power in America, and we found some very, very cheap power that I think the business can work at. Other people are finding even cheaper power. There's a great article that if anybody wants, just let me know in the chat box, and I'll send you the link to the article later on. But it basically laid out where the cheapest power in the world was on a grid specifically for crypto mining. So which countries were kind of open to it and which ones weren't, and what it would. And it turned out the cheapest power was in Venezuela. The second cheapest power was Trinidad and Tobago, and Iceland was up there in the top 10 as well. I can't remember exactly where. And a lot of guys are building these data centers in Iceland, specifically because they can get sort of ambient temperatures really low, so they don't need to worry about paying for cooling, because we have to remember that cooling is also expensive in terms of power consumption. So if you have to cool a given area of, basically these ant miners get very, very, very hot, and the GPUs get very hot as well. And when you pile a lot of them into a small space, like a few slides ago, like if you go and have a look at that, all of a sudden that room is insanely hot, and you've got to extract that heat at a hell of a pace. So you've got to run industrial fans, or you've got to run some other kind of cooling facility in order to keep those machines running optimally. So the other problems are, so let's say power was solved. The other problems are the heat, the dust. So the dust cakes on the internals of the machines, and when the dust cakes on it, it becomes a heat an insulation system where the heat can't get through the dust, and then therefore they run hotter, and then the chips melt out and all the rest of that stuff. So dust is really, really, really bad. Moisture is very bad as well. So I've seen a couple of videos where guys want to stick GPUs in a fridge, and then they fry out because of the condensation point, and some moisture settles on it, and we all know electricity and moisture don't go well together. And then noise. I mean, if anybody's been anywhere close to any of these ant mining machines or any of the other machines, specifically ASICs, they're very, very noisy. The GPUs are not as bad, but when you've got 100 or 200 of those fans going, they certainly do make a bit of a noise. And then the cooling. So I'm going to go into the cooling and why we used immersion cooling, and give you some of the insights into that and how we were able to save on some power because of the type of cooling that we used. And then infrastructure cost. You actually need the space, you need the building, you need to do some modifications to it, you need to build the racks, you need to spend some money on spare parts, you need to spend some money on the industrial fans to extract the air, you need to spend money on proper insulation, you need to spend money on dust filters so that the air is reasonably clean. You have downtime to clean them, so you've got to switch the machines off, strip them down, clean them, put them back together. You've got all the headaches of doing that. You've also got all the headaches related to, I don't know if anybody's stripped any, I mean, we've got a few people that mine over here on GPU rigs, and I've got two of them up in Joburg that I didn't build myself. But I do know that whenever we strip it down to clean it, when it goes back together, the nightmare of getting the thing going again and reconnected and all working, and suddenly it just doesn't want to work the same way it did before, and all I did was clean it. So anyway, it's these headaches are very real, and I think everybody is experiencing them. And then it's the time related to doing all of this. Is if you're running another business, or you're working 9 to 5, and you've got kids, and you've got family time that you have to do, and all the rest of that stuff, and your mine is running, and then it goes down, or internet goes down, or power trips, or whatever the case may be, and all of a sudden you're losing money because the thing's not connected, and you've got to go take that time out to reconnect it and do all of that work. So we needed to solve for these problems in an innovative way that didn't cost us a hell of a lot of money and still produced a return on investment that was reasonable for the long term. And I think we did it with immersion cooling with a very reputable company in America, and I'll show you more or less what that looks like now. So we went to the States in November 2017, and we visited a company over there that builds immersion cooling systems for supercomputer systems. So they build it. They've done work for the NSA. They've done work for some very big universities. One of the top supercomputers in the world has been running in this non-conductive oil for almost about 7 or 8 years, and it's literally never had any work done on it for a bunch of different reasons. So what's amazing about this technology, let me just play this video for you, and then it becomes self-evident, but I'll go through what's truly amazing about it in a second. That's 6,000 watts. Can everybody hear the video? Just pop it in the chat box, yes or no, that you can hear the video. I might have changed it. No, not quite. Let me try again. So that's 6 and 1. 6,000 watts or 6 and 1. Yeah. That better? That's incredible. Okay, so let me just tell you what it is then. That's 6 ant miners in the immersion, busy running, busy mining. And I'll send you guys the links to the video afterwards, but you can actually hear that there's almost no noise. there's no dust, there's no humidity, there's nothing that can get to those machines. And what's amazing about it is you run that oil through a heat exchanger and then keep it at a predetermined optimal temperature that you choose. And therefore, we can run the machines extremely optimally without ever really worrying about downtime. So downtime reduction is incredible. They also don't break very often because the machines run in such a perfect way that they simply run longer and better than if they were running in normal air. I don't know if anybody's had a look at what an ant miner looks like after it's been running for 3 or 4 months, but it's properly dusty and dirty. Whereas those in that particular oil bath over there have been running for almost 6 months, and they're in perfect working condition, and they run at perfect temperature all the time. So these machines will last a hell of a lot longer than if they were running in open air, and we'd have a lot less breakdowns. They also don't have any fans attached, so the fans are taken off the machines, so that basically the fan wouldn't run effectively because the oil is very viscous compared to air, and we don't need the fan anymore to keep it cool. So because we take the fan off, we can save on the power consumption that the fan uses, and that power saving is what runs the power required for the cooling. So it's pretty incredible that we can run the power that the ant miner or the computer would normally be running at in open air. We can actually now power the entire cooling system with just the saving from taking off the fan on those machines. It's pretty phenomenal when you understand that. So this video over here, I'm going to play a short piece of it, just because I'm respectful of everybody's time. That's inside the actual container where we're going to be installing all of our ant miners. So we're going to put our ant miners in these baths of oil inside a container like this. This is a 20-foot container. We've ordered a 40-foot container, and this will give you an indication of what it looks like. That's where power goes.
Design everything to code.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The circuit breakers for all the different. This is a raised floor, so we have pump modules on it. So this one we have 2 different. These CPUs and power. So they connect right into the circuit breaker box. Each
So you get an idea of how it's going to look and how it's going to work. And if you look on top of the container there on the left-hand side, there's a dry cooling system. So what that is, it's got a radiator system. The oil flows through that radiator system, and then they've got some industrial fans that blow over the radiator, and that's what keeps the oil at the temperature that we want it to run at. If you look at the picture on the right-hand side over there, you'll see a bunch of those little gray bubbles on top of the tanks. Now those gray bubbles are evaporative coolers, and you can run a dry cooler like on the left-hand side over there. That's the radiator system, and you can also run an evaporative cooling system that uses some water. So obviously we won't run it in Cape Town because we don't have any water, but we do have enough water in the States where we're going to be putting our container of 432 miners. So we've got enough water. It's cheaper to put the evaporative cooler on than to run the dry cooler. But the dry cooler is for, if we wanted to go drop one of these in the Saudi desert at 60 degrees Celsius, it could still run with no problems whatsoever. So it's an incredible technology. And then with the evaporative cooling, we have to be close to water. So we have to just make sure that we have sufficient water supply for the evaporative coolers to work. And then what happens is the oil flows through the evaporative cooler, and then the evaporative cooler keeps the temperature of the oil at the right rate for us to be able to run the machines optimally. So it's actually very, very simple. But what's amazing about this is if you look at the types of technology that people have used in data centers in the past, is they use what's called a PUE factor, or power usage effectiveness factor. And what it is saying if a computer runs at a factor of 1, what is your extra cost of power required in order to keep that room or that computer cool? And typically, if you're trying to cool the air, it runs at a PUE factor of, let's say, 1.5 to 1.7. So what that means is if you're running air conditioners to pump the air and running some industrial fans, you're going to end up spending 70% more power, which is directly on your bottom line. If you're paying R1.20 or R1 or whatever the cost of power is, and you've got to pay 70% more for your power just to keep the room cool, it's very, very, very expensive. Then they brought in some new technology on cooling data centers where you could use cold plate cooling, you could use the RDHX cooling, and cold plate cooling is very, very interesting. But at the same time, it's expensive to roll out, and you still only drop it to about a 1.2, 1.1. So that means you effectively still have to pay quite a high capex to get it right, and you've got to pay another 15, 20% in terms of cost of power, which is a direct overhead that's eating your money every month, well, every day that these things are on. And then the next level is immersion. Now, what's amazing about immersion is the savings that we can save by taking the fans off and running the machines a little bit more optimally is what we can spend on the cooling system, and it means we can run that system at a PUE factor of 1. This means that whatever the machine did run at in air, it's now running it in the cooling system. And all we've got is the CapEx outlay to make that happen. And it is significant, so we need to understand that and know, is it worth it, and do those calculations. So we found that it was worth it, but some other people might not, and I'll share why in a couple of seconds. It's related to the volatility, the difficulty, etc., etc. So this is pretty much how it works. This is the cycle. You can see we've got a bath over here, or they call it a sled. The coolant is inside that sled. The machines are dropped into that coolant. It then runs through the heat exchange. The water in the heat exchanger then runs at a certain temperature and evaporates off at a certain temperature, and then keeps that oil cool, and then it's circulated back into the tank as the cold oil. And what's amazing about this stuff is the oil does not degrade. It's non-conductive mineral oil. That's a very specific formula that's been used for this type of cooling. And we can literally drop any server into it. So I'm talking a lot about Antminers because that's specifically what we bought to put into the system. But yes, we can do GPUs as well. So the next sort of iteration that we would look at to have a diversified risk would be possibly to do a GPU rig in future. Sorry, that's my wife just texting me. She just put the kids to bed. So anyway, here I am doing webinars at the office still, so that I've got decent internet connection. She's dealing with the kids. So anyway, the savings are significant, and there were some testimonials from the clients that are using this for this particular immersion cooling, specifically for their supercomputers. And they've dealt with Orange, with Intel, with the National Security Agency in the US, with the US Air Force. And these guys really, really know their stuff. So it's not like it's a new technology that suddenly we need to, be testing our crypto mining space with a new technology. This has been done before for a long time. It's very well tested. They've got 6 patents on the technology that's protected, and it's been tested at scale, so we know it works. But what's amazing is, I circled it there in red, is Intel said that could mean that you could run at a higher clock speed. Now, we all know higher clock speed equals more money in crypto mining. So with an immersion cooling system, if we run it and we are able to clock them higher and overclock the machines, we can make more money. So guys, this is very, very exciting. I have not tested an overclocked system. It has not been tested, but would we test one? Yes, we would. I'm looking for potential, for people that have facilities available that might think that this can work for them. And if we can start running some systems and testing, then maybe we've got something incredible over here if we can overclock our machines and not burn them out. So to make this a proper system, we solved for industrial power at the right cost. We're going to be paying about 5 to 6 cents US dollars per kilowatt, which is 5 cents is going to be 70 cents South African rands per kilowatt. The reason we've gone with that particular site, we did actually find cheaper power from a hydropower station in the US, but the cheaper power came with a bunch of other terms and conditions we weren't comfortable with. So for one, we had to take a 5-year contract. 5 years in crypto is a very, very long time. And I come from a property background, a property mindset, and I look for ways to mitigate risk. Even in the highest risk, newest technology, I still want to find a way to mitigate risk, where I'd rather pay a slightly higher price for power, which is still lower than I'm paying in South Africa by nearly half, and know that I can move those machines whenever I feel like it. I can cancel the contract whenever I feel like it. I've got control. I can switch them off, and I've got no contract over my head for 5 years to pay for a ridiculous amount of power at a very, very, at a high consumption rate. Because if you're taking a contract to use 670 kilowatts, something like that per month, maybe 1 megawatt, all of a sudden you're on the hook for a hell of a lot of money, even at 2-3 cents a kilowatt. So we found power in the US at around 4 cents a kilowatt. And then there was a management fee and a pad site fee and this fee and that fee, and it worked out that we were going to end up paying 7 cents a kilowatt anyway. So I see we've got some people asking, where is the building in the US? That's my secret. Well, we actually own the building in the US. We bought a very big cotton mill in South Carolina. We're in the process of modifying that cotton mill. It's a $60 million transaction. We bought it in September 2017, last year, and we are in the process of converting that mill to 303 apartments. We start construction at the middle of March, somewhere around there. And at the back of that building, we happen to have a lot of warehouse space. And in those warehouses, we also, because it was an industrial building before, we've got the ability to have as much power as we require. So it's an interesting position that we literally just got lucky that we were, we bought an amazing building for a different purpose, and we have these buildings that are not being used and are not part of the regentrification of the building. So we can park our miners over there, and we don't have any rent that we have to worry about because we already own the building. So we've solved for the heat, the dust, the moisture, the noise, the cooling through the immersion system. We don't have to do any building modifications. We don't have to do any fancy stuff in terms of racks and stuff, because it's all built into the actual 40-foot container. So it's pre-done. We just drop the machines in, plug in the internet, plug in the water, plug in the power, and we mine crypto. So we can save a lot of time. We only need one person on site to manage it. That's interesting. I see you've got an investment group based out of Atlanta. Just WhatsApp me later. Maybe we can have a chat about that, because we've got some interesting opportunities on the property side and stuff as well. So I see somebody else says they don't have sound. I'll just send the video later. Okay. So just WhatsApp me later, and I will let's have a chat on the phone and see if there's any synergy to do any other business together. But right now we're on crypto, so let's stay focused. So we're looking at, we've got some partners at that particular building, so we don't have to pay very much rent, but we're going to pay a small stipend just because there are other partners involved in that building. And then we're able to get the power at about 6 cents a kilowatt. And that we can switch off whenever we feel like it, because we're going ahead with that construction anyway. So what are the other risks in crypto mining? I mean, the difficulty ratio is definitely playing a big part. As more miners are coming online, the difficulty ratio is going up. I tracked well, I'll actually share it with you. Let me see if I can change my screens here for a second. I'll show you the graph of the difficulty. And what's been happening here is now as the difficulty goes up, your returns go down. So we need to understand this risk and then make provision for it, because it is significant. So if we have a look at this blue graph over here, we can see what it was a year ago and where it is now, and that tracks to around 15% per year, per month, which is very significant. 15% per month, guys, is massive. But if you look at the graph below that, it tracks it almost exactly is the Bitcoin price. So if you have a look at the difficulty ratio going up 15%, the Bitcoin price went up on average 25% a month. I know it wasn't 25% a month linear, but I just averaged it out. But this graph I took whatever it was 2 weeks ago when it was still $14,800. It's now at whatever it is, $8,500. But you get my point. Now that risk is very real. We need to be aware of it, that if the difficulty ratio is going up and the price is going down, we're in trouble. So anyway, and then when new technology comes on board that can mine faster with less power required, we need to make provision out of the cash flow to buy that new technology so that we can dollar average or hash rate average across the board in order to make sure we're still viable as a business. And in terms of the difficulty ratio, we've taken a view that if we compare this to buying a property cash, so if we took the Can everybody still hear me? That's good. Okay, back again. I had to lose my earphones. So anyway, okay, let's get back to the show, the crypto show. I don't know if anybody's watched Crypto Man Rain, but I love your show. So how do I share my screen again? Okay, so the difficulty ratio is extremely important for us to understand, because when it's going up and the price is going down, our returns are going down at a very rapid pace. New technology coming on board can also have an impact, because if you can mine faster and Bitmain releases something, or Avalon releases something, or the new Japanese guys release something, and somebody goes and buys 10,000 of those machines and brings it online, it's going to push the difficulty ratio up faster. So it's going to make our technology null and void very, very quickly. So we've got to have a reinvestment mindset to really grow this business. And we took a view that if we compared it to a property, because we're property people, and we could do better than a 10% return per year, so we could do a 20% return per year. At the moment, at the current difficulty ratio, we're looking at an 8% per month, which is going to give us about 100% per year if everything kind of averages out to the same ratios as they did last year, where the Bitcoin price kind of tracked the difficulty ratio increases, etc., etc. Who knows what's actually going to happen? I don't know. All I know is if I can switch on that mine right now, we've got 432 ant miners that are going live in the first week of March. And at the current ratios, we'll make about $140,000 a month, somewhere around there. And then obviously there's the price volatility and the regulations, and then all the other risks that go with crypto. We know there's a hell of a lot of that. And the cost of the full solution, what we've had to spend is about $1.7 million in total. That's including the 432 ant miners and the cooling system and shipping and installation and all the rest of that stuff that goes with it. And it works out to about $3,935 per S9. And that was buying the ant miners directly from Bitmain at a price of about $2,500 each, was $2,300 plus the power supply. So our cooling system is really costing us around $600,000, $550,000 to $600,000, depending on whether we're taking the dry cooling system or the the evaporative cooling system, or a hybrid of the two, which you can do, but it still costs around $40,000. So at 1.7 million, we have $3,335 per S9, but we're in a very clean, small system that we can control, in a place where we can control it, with enough power that we can run it, and we know that the machines are going to last a long time, and we've got very low overheads because we only have one person, so we've got to pay for that one person's salary, the security, because we need security on site, and the small stipend of rent that we're paying over there, and then obviously the power and the water consumption. And it's making 140 grand a month. In December, it was $400,000 a month. So who knows where it'll be in 3 months or 4 months' time, depending on the Bitcoin price, depending on the difficulty ratios, depending on all the rest of that stuff. But we're happy that if it's anywhere north of 20 or 30% a year, I think I'm doing very, very well in comparison to the cash flow I'm producing from property investments. So I'm taking a view that whatever I mine, I'm kind of going to hold, except for what I have to pay for operational costs in actual fiat money. I've got to pay the power utility guys in actual dollars because they're not going to take my Bitcoin. But the rest of it, I'm taking a view, this is a long-term thing. I don't really need the cash flow, so I'm just going to let the Bitcoin grow and sit there. And we took the decision that we'd rather be mining than buying, but we also buy a little bit of the currency as well when the opportunities present themselves, like now when I think the price was at a reasonable rate. And we've obviously bought a few other cryptos as well. So if anybody would like to partner, we've thought about this quite a lot. I don't know, this is really just a case of trying to find out if anybody's interested in something like this. If there's any ideas, if you've got GPU rigs that you want to put in immersion cooling, let's figure out how we can do that. If anybody wants to participate in buying some Antminers in a solution like this with us, then that opportunity is now being presented to you. And we're going to pretty much run them at cost. So whatever it costs us to do it, we're going to sell those Antminers at. But we're going to set a minimum of 6 Antminers per person. You can literally just buy them and have them in the solution running for you at whatever we're paying for them. So I'm not looking to mark them up that much at all. It's not about profit. It's about we are going to do it for a profit, but I want to find out from everybody if whatever we ask for is reasonable. And that 6 Antminers at the moment would give you approximately $1,900 a month worth of Bitcoin, and that's about 8% per month. I think that's an incredible return if you have to compare it to property or pretty much anything else. The only thing that's really better than that is if you're doing a very good business. And I think this is a very good business, especially if you go into it with the right mindset of growth, reinvestment, industrial scale, where we optimize on space, on people, on op costs, and on power. And then I don't know what's fair compensation for no rent or no headaches, no noise, no heat, the power tripping, no management, longer lifespan, etc., etc. Our thinking is, so this is open for discussion. I'd like some feedback from everybody. But the thinking is that we're looking at about 10% of any of the crypto mined, plus obviously the cost of power. We're not going to charge any rent or any management or anything like that. It's only going to be the 10% of crypto mined up until whatever capital you put out is returned and paid back, and thereafter 20%. So if you are online now, if you think that's fair or not fair, please put it in the chat box. I just need to pull the chat box up again. Where did it go? Chat. There we go. So if that does sound fair, if it doesn't sound fair, who is we on the team? The team is myself, my partner Kevin Harris, my other partner Jared Coleman, and Ryan Yamsu. It's the 4 of us. We own Infinity Investment Solutions, and we bought the first tank with our own money. And we're going to plug it in and run it relentless and regardless. So it's not a case of, am I offering you guys my tank? No, I'm not offering you guys my tank. My tank is already there. What we're going to do is, if there's enough interest from everybody that we can raise enough money to buy a second tank, then absolutely we'll go ahead. If we're not going to raise enough money for anybody at this kind of sort of level, then that's okay. Then I'll just run my one on my own and carry on. So I'd love some feedback. And if anybody is interested to go ahead with this, let me know. And if we do have enough interest, then we'll definitely pursue it as a business model. But if not, that's also okay. Hopefully you guys learned something and it was interesting. And I just want to go back here. If it does sound fair, please just text me on WhatsApp and let's see if we can organize a meeting together, either face-to-face or on Zoom, exactly like we're doing now, and then we can work it out. The logistics of everything is, if you had to pay, it would go to a US bank account. When we've accumulated enough, then we will buy the tank. And typically it takes 2 to 3 months. You know what the logistics are like with regards to ordering from Bitmain. It takes a long time, but we run things concurrently, so we'll build the tank while we're waiting for the miners to arrive. As soon as they arrive, they get modified, and the fans come off, and then we drop them in the oil and we switch it on. Thanks for the feedback, guys. I see there's a few people coming in there saying looks like it's fair. Great. Okay, cool. So yeah, just drop me a text. Let's see if we can chat on the phone or on Zoom in the next week or so. I'm going to the US next week. I haven't booked my flights yet, so it'll probably be Wednesday, Thursday next week. I'm not sure just yet. And we're going to go spend some time with the partners in the US that are busy building the tank right now. And I'll be able to send you guys some videos and pictures and stuff while we're there. And then, yeah, let's see if we can make something happen together. If anybody's got GPU rigs that are interested in immersion cooling, let me know. I can chat with the guys there and see if we can build a custom solution for GPU mining, and maybe there's something to be done. Thank you for your time tonight. I think I try to keep it concise and fast so that I didn't take too much of your evening tonight, and hopefully it was interesting. So what I'm going to do now is just stop the share. I'm on Twitter, but I never really look at Twitter, hey? So it's, I probably should, but I just don't. Okay, now I just need to see here, how do I unmute everybody? Some good questions. What temp does the oil run at? Depends on the temperature of the ambient temperature of the air around it, but typically it runs at about 30 degrees Celsius. Okay. I want to just unmute everybody. I can't find that setting. Might get a bit noisy though. Let's just unmute all. There we go. Okay, any questions, guys? Can the oil temperature run higher? No, we can actually predetermine what we want the oil temperature to run in. So we find it about 30 degrees, that's where it works optimally. Okay, I'm going to have to mute everyone again, just because there's a lot of background noise there. So I'm going to allow everyone to unmute themselves. So if you do have a question, just unmute yourself and fire away. Or just type it in if that makes you... a lot of people are saying, which town is the facility located in South Carolina? I'm not going to share that online right now. If you are happy to partner with us, I will share it with you, but at this point in time, not ready. Okay, Jens, let me unmute you. There we go. Unmute. There we go.
How are you doing?
Good, and you, man?
Good. Yeah, we met up last week, I think it was, at Carl's offices. The question I've got is, I mean, is this available like on a smaller scale?
Yes and no. So they do build custom rigs on a smaller scale. They've got some available sleds at the moment where we can put about 72 miners in it that we can buy now. I've been getting some pricing on them, and we can, it depends on the cooling system that's required. So they're busy designing that cooling system for 72 miners for me on a slightly smaller scale. But yes, we can do it on a smaller scale. It just takes a little bit of work. It works better at a bigger scale.
Okay. Cool.
Cool, man. Thanks for participating, man.
No, thanks for hosting this.
Cool. I'm super excited with everybody online and sharing this stuff and everything. Did everybody find this interesting? Was it worth the time tonight?
Definitely.
Okay, lekker. And at least it wasn't a waste for everyone. So fantastic, man. Okay, well, guys, it looks like the questions have kind of dried up. So I think you've got my WhatsApp number. I'll drop it here in the group. Just drop me a line, and then let's chat.
So sorry, just to recap on that, to be part of that investment or whatever, it's a minimum of what was that, 23,900?
Yeah. So we were looking at whatever it was, 23,500 for 6 ant miners. The only reason I'm not doing one by one is I just really don't want to, deal with that many people.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'd be very keen. I just don't know at the moment that kind of investment's a bit much for myself. So I've just done some building work at home. So
okay.
Yeah, maxed out the bond and all that. So that's But,
No, understood. Let's not finance anything that's in crypto.
yeah. Well, I'm definitely keen, and I believe in it. That's why I asked if there's anything smaller scale. I mean, I'm actually just thinking personally myself, getting a GPU rig set up, just also because I used to do, or I still do on the side, like network support and that, and I'm really also interested in setting up my own machine and that. So, but yeah, it's obviously on a much smaller scale than
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Like the learning curve that you go through is awesome. So it's worth doing just for that. That's why I bought a few ant miners, plugged them in at my house, went through the motions. Just the learning curve was well worth it because I had some money nailed by nice hash and figured out that maybe it's worthwhile having the mining pools pay out to my wallet, my secure wallet every day instead of once a week or at a predetermined level or something like that. So I learned a few lessons as well, and I'm leveraging off quite a few people that are also quite knowledgeable in the space, and just trying to learn as fast as possible. But we went quite big quite quickly in terms of the money that we laid out to go at that level. But it kind of didn't make sense for us to do it at a small scale, So everything was just more difficult. Like I had 8 ant miners there at my house, and I ended up selling 4 of them simply because I couldn't run them at my house. And it was too much of a mission for me to go and try and find another place to run only 4 ant miners. It was like just a pain in the butt. So I just said, well, I either do 2 or I do 500, So, and that's why we were big.
Yeah, look, like at the moment, like I said, I mean, like 23 would be a bit much, but like half of that, I'm so keen. I mean, I could possibly stretch. I mean,
that's good feedback. Let me take it back to the partner oaks tomorrow and say, we've got some interest at maybe a lower price level, maybe 3 ant miners at whatever it is.
Yeah. Sorry, the current one was 6, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 3. If I'm just taking that dollar amount that you had, then I'm just halving it. That would be something I could.
Let's ask the rest of the community, guys. Would it appeal to you guys to be able to do less at less buying price, but pretty much on the same ratio? Yeah, but that's the same amount per miner. it'll be whatever it is. So let's say 23.5 divided by 2. So I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's just see here. Make the barrier of entry lower. 23,500 divided by 2 is 11,750 for 3 Ant miners. So 3 Ant miners is going to give you almost $1,000 a month in terms of income.
And then yeah, then that would.
Okay, let me unmute someone here. They're just asking to be unmuted. Yeah, mute. Okay, yes, you're unmuted. Who is that?
Yeah, so basically you control my mute button. So when I go and mute the button again, you physically have to go in and unmute it. But I'm not sure if anyone can hear me okay, but my name is Denny. I'm located here in Atlanta, Georgia. And for those who are affiliated with Wealth Migrate in some way, shape, or form, I run capital markets for a company called Richmond Honan. So I may have met some of you guys when I was out in South Africa last October. But, you know, in terms of fractional ownership, it's actually how we structure our products. An idea is to create units of investment, much smaller denominations. And that way for you, you know, as a business owner in South Carolina, you don't have to deal with 100 people. You deal with one entity that may have several partners, dozen, 2 dozen. You can have 100 partners inside that entity. And so you wouldn't have to manage the personalities, but really just the relationship with the fund itself. So I'm just speaking out loud. It's how we overcame how people wanted to get into our commercial real estate assets that are generally 40, 50 million, you know, in size.
So full disclosure, guys, thank you very much for sharing. I'm one of the ex-founders of Wealth Migrate. So I was one of the core group. Scott, Henny, and myself were the 3 founders. I exited there in 2015, thereabouts. It's probably why we haven't met. You've obviously joined the team after I left. So I'm all up for crowdfunding. I love the concept. I believe in it strongly, still to this day. I just love doing real estate more than crowdfunding. So I was more into just doing great real estate deals than that. But I still love what they're doing. I believe in their vision very strongly. Still spend a lot of time with the guys whenever I can, just because, you know, we're still mates. So full disclosure on that side is yes, Wealth Migrate's got a great thing. And if it's an opportunity that people are looking for, where we could do a syndicated solution where everybody's in at a much lower price point, and you're dealing with one entity, that would certainly simplify my life. If anybody's interested in that, maybe that's a discussion we have to have.
Yeah, I can certainly private message you, but I wanted to at least mention that out loud. It's primarily the reason why we started an investment club. You know, in this space, there is power in numbers. There's power in numbers when you get into ICOs in terms of the bonuses. There's just more that you can get out of this space when you compile your efforts and compile your money. And the investment club itself is now being morphed in a full-blown international hedge fund that we are trying to base out of Puerto Rico. But this could be, you know, we are interested in this as a group. That's the reason why a few of us were on this conference. So, you know, for those who maybe cannot buy the 6, maybe plugging in, you know, through us could be a way around it. Again, I'm just thinking out loud. So these are non-solicitation comments, just again, trying to.
No, this is really just an open discussion thing here tonight. It's gauging if there's any interest. It's gauging if people are excited about it. It's gauging if you know, if there is interest. It seems like there is. I mean, I'm getting private messages from quite a few people. I'm getting some on the chat box here. I see, and I really wanted to do it on Zoom so that we could have it as an open discussion to get started. So I'm quite excited about this space. So let's see what we can do. So your name is Denny.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Denny, just drop me a WhatsApp text so that I got your number, or was that you that just did that now? I'll see an American number.
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool.
I'll put it in.
Okay, great. I've got you down over there. And I think there's a few people that also like the idea of owning their own ad miners, and that's part of what I wanted to bring to the table here. It's like you've got direct ownership, like your serial number will be your serial number. So thanks for sharing, Denny. I'm just going to mute again just because there's some background noise there. Okay. So I think we'll explore those options. For now, I'm going to say we've got two potential models, well, three potential models. One is the existing one at 23.5 grand. Maybe the idea then is behind the scenes. If you guys can't afford to do one on your own, then just go and raise it up out of your friends and family or something like that, and then and do it that side. It would certainly be easier on our side to deal with less people. I'm not averse to possibly halving it. I'll have a chat with Kevin and Jared and Brian tomorrow and see what they think. But if not, I'll let you guys know on email one way or the other. The next one is possibly doing a single entity, and everybody goes in and all owns a part of it, and we do it that way. Might be easier, might be more complicated depending on regulations and what we can do in terms of raising capital. We could definitely look at doing an ICO in future, but doing an ICO requires a successful ICO requires reach. You need to have a good database to deploy it to, so that it's got momentum outdoors. And I think Envion did something quite similar recently, and they raised over $100 million for specifically mining in containers at hydro power stations and green kind of power areas. And they did very, very well, raised over $100 million on their ICO. So we might look at doing something like that in future, but I like doing things after I've already tested with my own money. I don't like doing things before I know I've actually got a business. So I want to have my own tank plugged in. I want mining. I want to have the reports. I want to have it clear that this is exactly what's going on and have understood it myself with my own experience, my own money, before I go and say to investors, hey guys, we've got something amazing and let's raise an ICO on it. So that's definitely an option in future, but that's going to be 6 months away before we even start thinking about it. So yeah, I'm going to kind of call it there. It's 8:30. We've spent an hour chatting about crypto. It's my favorite subject at the moment, except for family and Tesla and SpaceX. No, I'm joking. It's definitely one of my favorite subjects. So thank you for allowing me to share with you what we're busy with here tonight, guys. Have a great evening further, and just keep the community going and hodl or hold or however you pronounce it. But just keep going. Good night.